Hey, or
Yes, everything.
So maybe I'll interview you. So
interview me? Oh boy,
Yeah,
exciting.
okay, tell me about yourself.
Wait, has it started?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh,
This is how it is.
Focus? Yeah, Okay.
okay.
It's fully sharp.
How long has it been since you moved in?
It's been approximately 4 or 5 years since I moved in. I moved in for college at the University of California, Berkeley. So I moved into Berkeley. First thing I noticed was I come from the Northeast. So the first thing I noticed is the style of housing is just so different here because you've got your colonial housing
Right.
in the Northeast. It's very traditional, very old school, very much New England. Then I come here and every house it's not just houses that look modern. It's like the fonts and the logos on the shops. They all look modern. And so it's a completely different style. I thought I really like the weather, especially. That was another thing I noticed. It was always consistently like 50 or 60 degrees, which is my sweet spot.
Yeah, where did you grow up? Like, how is it different from where you are from?
Yeah, so not go back too far. I spent most of my childhood in New England, which where the temperatures vary wildly. So there would be times in the winter where it'd be negative 10 degrees, times in the summer where it'd be 90, 9,500 degrees. Huge temperature variation, and you get used to it. But coming to Berkeley or coming to the Bay Area, you kind of realize, wow, like one of the things people love about this place, even though it's really expensive, because it's really expensive, people love about this place is. It's just how stable the weather is. It's pretty cool.
How about the people?
The people.
How are they different?
Ooh, good question. That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's more of a tech vibe to it. There's more of a competitive streak to it. So you just go around in the culture in the schools, and when you talk to people, people are always just going around doing things. Even like I think we both went to the Halloween party together, and that
Steve Jobs' house,
that's
right?
that the Steve Jobs house, the line being 2.5 like wrapping around itself, and like that house with there was a house with, and someone had designed an alien UFO going up into the sky, and it was just so, for lack of a word, try hard.
Right.
It was so, and you would never see something like that in New England. New England's very laid back, relaxed. People that earn money, but it's not it's not Bay Area money. So it's different. It's different. So the people are different. The culture environment is definitely, it's unique here. I don't think I've ever encountered a place like the Bay Area.
Was it surprise to you that Steve Jobs' house, Tim Cook house, all those I guess big names were so accessible? Like it was 30-minute, 40-minute walk away from ours,
You know
right?
what's wild?
Yeah.
I looked at the house and it didn't even look like when I imagine, I'm sure these guys have other houses, mansions elsewhere. When I look at their house, I normally picture their house. Like when I think of Steve Jobs' house or Tim Cook's house, I think of huge mansion and like secluded and isolated somewhere with the gates. And their house was just in the middle of a bunch of other houses as well.
Exactly.
Now, very rich neighborhood, I'm sure. But still, I mean, this just looked like a regular house. And that was the crazy part to me, is how accessible these people are. You just never see that in another place. You just never see it. At most, I grew up in an upper middle class neighborhood in Connecticut. It was what you would expect out of an upper middle class suburb, right? But here, it's just so different. You go into a suburb like that and you randomly stumble across, the Tim Cook's house, or randomly stumble across someone else's house, and it's like, it just pops. It's just there. It's just there. It's that kind of accessibility. It's 100%.
There isn't even a security or anything like that, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting in a way that, I came here to work with those people.
Can we get that mic close?
Oh, it's closer? Okay, okay, like
Yeah,
that?
there
Okay,
you
okay.
go.
Always like
There
this.
you
Okay,
go.
yeah. I
Got
just
it.
felt more comfortable like laying back.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. I can
Yeah.
move it. Yeah, okay. That would be
Gotcha.
nice.
There
yeah.
you go.
So yeah, what are you here to do?
What am I here to do? I'm here to ingratiate myself in the culture. It's a
What
very
does that mean?
specific. It's a very specific culture.
Ingratiate?
Ingratiate.
Okay.
Ingratiate. Meld myself into.
What's
I-
meld myself into?
Well, yeah. So, what I mean by that is,
Yes.
it's a very unique go-get culture. It's a very unique.
What's go-get culture?
Go-getting. Like,
Okay.
Like people are, like I said earlier, in other places. Like when I grew up in Connecticut, people would earn money, but it was very laid back. People would earn money. They'd go back to their house, family, go out with friends every weekend. It was like kind of like your laid back lifestyle. And the Bay Area is just so unique in that culture. It's not just, I think people say it's like the companies that are here, but I also think that contribute to the culture, but I also think there's just evidently like a style of conducting things that's very go-getting. It's very like you want to get something. You see, you're inspired by the people around you. Even people that haven't accomplished anything yet, you're inspired by them. You see people all the time, they're trying to do something. They want to do something. They want to get somewhere in life.
Right.
And even if they are somewhere in life, they want to get even higher. And that's the kind of, there's positive and negative elements to that as well. But I think there's a lot that can be learned by someone who hasn't been ingratiated or hasn't experienced that kind of culture, who's lived a lot of his life in a lot more laid back circumstances where it's just you work your job 9 to 5, you come back, spend time with the kids. The family,
yeah.
You come back and then you go to the movies every once in a while, you go to the game, you go to bed, right? And then you rest in the weekend.
As far as I know, you're a recent grad, right?
Yes.
And are your friends like you too, or are they like? What's their preference in terms of life? Like, do they want to live the New England way, or?
Oh, definitely the Bay Area way. I went to Berkeley, and that was a place where I noticed instantly the change. Instantly the change. I went to Berkeley, and the people there are just
ambitious.
They're ambitious. Ambitious is definitely a word to describe it. They're flowing with that attitude, right? You just go. I remember the first week in my dorm. I would just stumble into the lounge and people were just writing programs for to get into a startup or something, right? To work on a startup. And that was something that it sounds natural here. Oh, you're trying to get into a startup. I just didn't even conceive of that, right? For me, it was just always like, okay, you apply to a big company, right? For some kind of office job, and that's that. But it's like here, I went in the first week of school. I see people writing code for a startup, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah, what's startup?
It's just a completely different culture. You just see people just wherever you go doing things. And Berkeley was definitely, it's like if you can concentrate it into one place, Berkeley, or I would say Stanford, of course, but Berkeley, at least in my experience, was that. It's it's an encapsulation of what I think Bay Area culture is like, in a sense.
And that sort of motivated you to move here and pursue the same career?
Yes, exactly. So it motivated me to grow. It motivated me to see what are the areas I can grow in, what are other people doing, where are the areas of opportunity, to have that mindset, that growth mindset of how can I improve in life, where can I go? And I think that's what the American dream is about, not to get too philosophical or not to get too abstract here, but that's kind of what the American dream is about, is the Bay Area is like a representation of that, right? You're talking about people who are always looking for, what can I do now? What opportunities do I have? And isn't that what the American dream is?
Right.
It's to grow your life, grow your prospects, grow the prospects of your family, enrich yourself.
Okay.
Right? And I think Bay Area culture is just an encapsulation of that, for good or for better or worse.
It's interesting that you mentioned American dream. So, are your family from here, or are they from a different country?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Great question. So my family is from India. My family's from India. My dad grew up in rural India in the 70s. So he grew up as a farmer. Very modest lifestyle. My mom, relatively similar, more middle class. When I was born, after a few months I was born, we moved to Singapore. And Singapore definitely has a competitive East Asian streak. There's definitely something to it.
Right.
But I would argue there's something different between that culture and Bay Area culture. A lot of people make comparisons between the two.
Right, they're both competitive.
Yeah, they're both competitive. But I think that's like a surface level or superficial similarity. I think if you go deeper, there's actually something different. In East Asian culture, there is almost, for good or worse, there's almost like a push of get the highest salary, get the job with the highest salary. You need to do as well in life as possible, and well in life constitutes getting a good job.
Good number.
Getting a good job, right? In the Bay Area, it's almost different. Success here, both are about success,
right.
but success in East Asia is about getting a good job. Success in the Bay Area is about, I don't want to say, well, what's the right term for it? It's not just doing a startup, it's doing something new, creating something. Right? There's something very specific to
Being
it.
innovative.
Being innovative, yeah. And that's almost like a thing that you don't quite see in East Asian culture, at least from my experience in it. There's a competitive streak to both, but the aims are different. The end goals are different. So I lived in Singapore for 9 years. I experienced that culture. And I remember moving to New England. Now, to give you a little context, in Singapore, I grew up, doing tutoring 6 hours or 12 hours, every week. Just it was a regular part
your
of our
parents
lifestyle.
were
yeah,
very
just
ambitious
really
academically.
really rubbing at me. And I went to the U.S. and my first day of school in New England, to give you context for how it was like, and this is what I thought all of America was like.
Right.
I went to first day of school. I wake up, I ask my mom, "Where's my uniform?" And my mom goes, "Oh, you're not wearing a uniform." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "No, there's no uniform. You just go to school." You just go to school in regular clothes. And that was anathema to me. Going to school in regular clothes. I go to school. The only homework I had was a reading log, right? And so it was like that. That was like the New England culture, right? I went from doing 12 hours of weekly tutoring in Singapore to just having to read a couple books and write about them in New England.
After school.
Completely different culture. Yeah, exactly. Completely different. And obviously the pace picked up, but it was just much more laid back than anything I'd gotten used to. And coming to the Bay Area was a little bit of a shock, right? It's like returning to a bit of that Singapore culture, but with a different end goal in mind. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. That's like what I see in the Bay Area. Is there's that competitiveness, of course, but it's competitiveness to a different end. That's what I see. Does that make sense?
Is everything good so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Love it.
Are you doing anything innovative then? Are you
Am I doing
chasing?
Yes,
Yep.
yes. I have ideas on mental health is something that's very important to me. I think there's a lot of prospects in mental health, especially nowadays with the advent of the technological age. I think there's a lot of very rapid change that frankly humans have not evolved to, that we're just not used to living sedentary lifestyles, sitting on our couch for 8 hours a day, sitting and typing out work on a laptop and kneeling our neck down and just like watching TV in our free time. It's just not something we're used to. And not having that sense of community, especially as I think there's a really great book. I think it was about bowling alleys in America, and it was about the decline of bowling alleys in America. And the idea is that as time's gone on through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, those places of community, like bowling alleys, which used to bring people together, church, bowling alleys, things like that, have been going away in towns and cities. And as you see that, you also see that people are spending more time alone. And you see that through the statistical data. The average number of close friends that an American reports is significantly down compared to a decade ago. Yes, the average number is significantly down compared to a decade ago.
How many friends would you say you have?
How many friends do I say I have?
Yeah.
It depends how you closely define the friends.
Right.
I have a couple of people I would define as close friends, and a larger group of people that I would say I define as a larger group, as people I occasionally interact with or have friendly relations with.
Because to me, you're like a representation of Gen Z. Like,
Gen Z, yeah.
People define it different ways, but yeah.
I 100% get it. I mean, I've been touched by the phenomenon as well because it's so easy. The incentives are there. When you look at the technological innovations now, the incentives are there to sit alone, scroll through your social media feed, and have that be how you spend your time. There are companies literally spending billions of dollars on their algorithms to ensure that you do that for the longest possible time.
Instead of going to bowling
instead of
alley.
going to bowling alley, instead of communicating with friends. And even if you wanted to, there's places that do that kind of thing, which just aren't as prevalent anymore. It's a vicious feedback loop, right? Technological change causes more people to stay indoors. So these places are less profitable. They go out of business. It's a vicious feedback loop. And so there's a lot of concerns with mental health. There's a lot of issues with mental health. There have always been issues with mental health. It used to be stigmatized, so maybe now it's less stigmatized and it's coming out in the open. But I do think there's a modern phenomenon to it. There's definitely a modern phenomenon to this technological age and mental health issues that I want to address. It's something that's personally impacted me. It's personally impacted friends I know. That sense of loneliness and not having community, and it's something that I think I could help contribute to. And if I can help in any way contribute to improving people's mental health or helping people to achieve their goals in life, just generally working on people's mental health, especially people in stressful professions, that's something that I really that's something I relate to, and that's something I'd want to work on.
Okay.
So when you talk about innovation, that's like kind of the space I'm looking at.
Okay. So let's say if there were to be a one innovation that you wish you had growing up in this space, what would it be?
I think an innovation that would be super helpful, especially as a kid growing up, would have been either a physical, as a physical product or not, some tool to help the proliferation of community. I think if you can find ways to proliferate community and make it so the incentive structure is stacked in the other deck, so that even if people kind of don't feel like going out, they don't feel like doing community, their incentive structure pushes them to. And there's a bunch of ways to do that. You can facilitate it through, I don't want to use the word peer pressure, but almost seeing everyone do it, and therefore you feel incentivized to do it. Positive peer pressure. There's a bunch of ways to do it. You can send similar ways that social media algorithms use to incentivize you to stay alone, you could almost reverse it in a sense. I'm not sure the exact process by which that would work, but I think if there were tools and if there were applications that could incentivize community, I think that would be incredibly helpful to a lot of people's mental health and mental well-being, especially in the current culture where it's a very go,
right.
get what you need, or it's a just stay at your home and do what you need to do and be alone. I think there's a lot of incentive that can be provided by community. So it's not just, I think people say a loneliness crisis. I don't think it's just a loneliness crisis. I don't think it's just a matter of you need to find friends. I think it's a matter of having a shared place with shared activities with people that do things with you. That's how you form bonds. And I think that's missing.
That's super interesting because I was just recently in Ukraine, just a couple months ago.
Yes.
And I asked bunch of Ukrainian teenagers. I do this thing called mom test, which is just asking questions and trying to figure out what their pain points are because I want to contribute to anything I can do for them in conflict situation. I want to do it. And I've asked them, hey, like, do you guys want more, I guess, like more food, more resources, or do you guys need a space online to talk about mental health? Like, what is the one thing that you guys need the most? And they gave us, so the teenagers gave me 3 ideas, and one of them was a physical space they can hang out in, which is in a war zone, right?
Yes.
So I think this sort of sentiment is universal in a way, right?
It's a human sentiment. I mean, we grew up in community. That's how we evolved. It is physically painful for us to not be in community. People say it's just a mental health issue, and that understates the impact of it because human beings are when we say human beings are social creatures, we evolved to be in tribes. We evolved to be in tribes. The tribe was our way of survival, right? Imagine like the hundreds of thousands of years we've evolved and stayed alive. The human beings that survived stayed in friendly terms with their tribe. The human beings that didn't stay in friendly terms with their tribe, who were asocial or who had traits or genetic traits that disposed them to be more isolated, died out. Right? So the human beings that survived, the people that survived, or the people that remained, we are primed to want the affection and the support of a social group. That's how we survived. And so it is physically painful. We've evolved to be physically painful to not be in a social group because that meant life or death back in the day. So it's like it's a core part of what it means to be human. And when you deprive people of that, people can find coping mechanisms like social media algorithms, right? These are symptoms. People point out, oh, people are spending so much time in social media algorithms. That's why you need to lock in. You need to do work. You can't spend time on social media. But you're almost pointing at the symptom rather than the core problem. If people had a sense of community, I genuinely don't think these social media algorithms would be as big of a deal as they are. People would spend time on them, but I don't think as much as they do now. Because right now they're being used as a coping mechanism for the underlying issue. If that underlying issue is solved or at least remedied, if there is a proliferation again of common spaces to like you said with your visit with Ukrainian teenagers hang out with, and if there's a proliferation of community, then you actually solve a lot of those underlying systemic issues behind loneliness and social media algorithms and unhappiness with life and things like that. So that's
Yeah. In summary, you're here to address that problem that you relate to on a personal level. Well, let's just take a quick break and how is it so far? And I wanted to say hello to the new guests, but
Amazing.
amazing.
Is it fine? Okay. One of the ideas I had is let's get in.
Okay.
Current affairs. So, what are you here to talk about today?
I'm here to talk about the recent elections we had this Tuesday in California, the impact it'll have on the Bay Area, on California as a whole, what it says about national politics, because California is such a big player in national politics. So I think that it's a pretty big news event. It's a pretty big news event in terms of the ramifications it'll have nationally.
Okay. Unfold me what's going on.
So what essentially is going on is a power struggle between Gavin Newsom and the President of the United States.
Okay. And who is Gavin Newsom?
Gavin Newsom is the current governor of California.
Okay.
So what's happening right now is there is a power struggle in terms of the national congressional maps, redistricting. What's happening is both parties, Republicans and Democrats, are fighting to see who can redistrict their state maps more to favor them in the congressional elections coming up in 2026. Donald Trump's kickstarted this in Texas. Okay. And so what you saw in California was the first retaliatory move by a Democrat against that. the latest Prop 50 measure was a measure for retaliatory gerrymandering in the state of California. So what you essentially had was a redrawing of the congressional maps, including the congressional maps in the Bay Area, where some Republican representatives, their rural seats would get diluted by the population centers in the Bay Area.
Can I stop you there
yes, go
for
ahead,
a second?
Go ahead. Yes, go
So
ahead.
I don't know anything about politics.
Of course.
So can you
Of course.
explain to me why it matters to
Of course.
the public?
Of course. So what you're looking at essentially in California is whether it's about the long-term political future of the country. It matters here in California. So let me start out with this. Donald Trump was elected last year as into the presidency. Every 2 years there are elections in this country.
Right.
In the upcoming year there are midterm elections. In the midterm elections there's very crucial and very consequential ramifications to congressional power. So who controls Congress gets the power of the purse, gets the power of investigations, which is incredibly important, and gets subpoena and oversight powers. So essentially, there's a lot of powers to check the Trump administration. What Donald Trump doesn't want by any means is for Democrats to come into Congress and to investigate his administration. And in order to stymie that or oppose that, he has been going around Republican state legislatures in Texas and in Florida and asking them to redraw congressional maps to favor the Republicans. And by favoring the Republicans, he has a better chance of keeping control of Congress in next year's midterm elections. And by doing so, he can forestall any investigations into the administration. He has more power to do what he wants to do unilaterally. And so Gavin Newsom, in a power play between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom was trying to set up referendum and push for redistricting, counter-redistricting, to redistrict California in the opposite direction, so that Democrats would gain congressional seats in California.
So they're pulling against each other.
They're pulling against each other. It's
Okay.
a power play. It's a power struggle between these two power centers.
It's a fight.
It's a fight. And what makes this so important is that the Tuesday's elections went really well for Democrats. They especially went well for Gavin Newsom.
Okay.
Gavin Newsom's referendum, it passed by 30 points in California, way beyond even their wildest dreams. And what it means is Gavin Newsom has future presidential ambitions. Our governor is very, very interested in the presidential election.
Okay.
He has said
So
so
he's a potential
explicitly.
competitor to
he has
Donald
said
Trump.
he has said so explicitly. This is the beginning of a power struggle that will last for several years. Gavin Newsom has said explicitly that he is considering in news interviews running for the presidency.
Okay.
The governor of California is using this as a stepping stage to the Democratic presidential primary. When you ask Democratic voters what matters to them the most in the presidential primaries, it's fighting back. They say this is very different from what it was a few years ago. There is a mood in the Democratic Party that they want someone who fights back against the administration. Gavin Newsom, astutely, being the astute politician he is, saw that mood, saw his goal, which was getting the Democratic Party nomination for the United States presidency, and saw that in order to take advantage of that, he would fight Donald Trump on his own playing field by redistricting, counter-redistricting California. By winning it in the margin he did, he elevates his stature in the Democratic Party. He gives himself a leeway into the presidential nomination to fight Donald Trump. So it's not just, this referendum is not just a referendum. It's a power play between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump that sets up a longer term battle for the future of the presidency.
Can I say this
Yes.
was the first round of the fight? Or
This is the first round of the fight, essentially. And Gavin Newsom, by winning it in the manner he did, he has elevated his stature among Democratic primary voters. He has elevated his stature among Democrats to the extent that that he has increased the possibility of him being the Democratic nominee to fight Donald Trump. So that's why last week's elections matter so much, is because in that first round of fight, Gavin Newsom pulled off a very strong victory, and so that's why it
What
matters
would
so much.
be the ramification for the people like us who
Yes.
has no idea what's going on?
Yes. So the ramifications for people like us, if you're somebody who, especially in the Bay Area, there's a lot of important events occurring around SNAP, around supplementary nutritional benefits, relating to government shutdown. There's a lot of things relating to tariffs. Tariffs, especially if you're in an industry, a small business owner. There's a lot of events relating to that. There's a lot of events relating to ICE, the Immigration Customs Enforcement in California. So there's a lot of events impacted by the current federal administration. And the way this fight plays out will determine in a few years how those impacts will resonate in California, whether those are short-term or longer-term impacts, whether Trump will get his successor that he wants in the presidency to continue his policies in California, or whether Gavin Newsom will get it.
Okay.
That's the fundamental dichotomy.
Okay.
And that'll impact
So
Californians.
depending on who you are,
Yeah.
let's say you're an immigrant,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
say you're a small business owner,
Yeah.
that the impact would come different.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. 100%.
But this fight will ultimately determine what kind of future lies ahead.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank
let's
you.
let's have another
Yeah,
session.
thank you.
In the future.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that one. I think we needed to start out slower.